This conference will now be recorded.
That's great. Thank you. Jamie, you might have to read your prompt again.
Okay, Jamie Millward, Chair. I'll start again. This is Jamie Millward, Chairman of the Architectural Review Board in the town of Stratford. Due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, we are conducting a special meeting today on April 15, 2020 of the Architectural Review Board via gotomeeting.com. Quorum for this meeting is a total of 3 members, which we have. In attendance are the following ARB members: Shannon Hovan, member; Tom Sarkowitz, member; John Zabel, member; Steve Law, Vice Chairman; and myself, Jamie Millward, Chairman. Also in attendance are Susmitha Atoda, Town Planner; Attorney Barry Knott; Petitioner James Fitzpatrick; and Recording Secretary Aileen Marsh. Before beginning the regular business of this meeting, I'd like to remind all participants to raise their hand if they would like to speak. I will then recognize you and instruct you to proceed. Each and every time you speak throughout the course of the meeting, and regardless of the number of times you've spoken previously, you must begin by stating your name and title, such as ARB member, petitioner, attorney representing, etc. All voting will be done via roll call. I will call each member by name, and that member will reply stating their name and position and how they vote. This is required per Governor Lamont's executive order, which gives us the authority to schedule this virtual meeting. So now, going forward, one item on the agenda, 577 Hawley Lane Diner. Whether it's Barry or Jim Fitzpatrick to take the lead, but gentlemen, go ahead.
Jim, you go ahead.
Okay, so Petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick, thank you for having this meeting again to further discuss the project. Unsuccessfully, however, I was unable to get in touch with my architect. I submitted an email to Susmitha on Monday around 10 a.m., rather lengthy, but quite possibly that could have been forwarded to all members. So you would have that, you would have had an opportunity to review it. Basically, I did get a hold of my guy, but not until today. He's a architect, but he's also a college professor, and he's tied up with his situation at home, and also he teaches from his house through a similar situation that. So it's been very difficult for him, and he hasn't been. He was not very responsive. Just didn't have enough time for it. So I apologize. I did write this lengthy email on Monday because I felt that you deserved an explanation as to what was discussed, and I seem to have addressed each item going forward. And I thought that, that would, if you had that, and I don't know, Susmitha, if that's something that you could still forward as we're having this meeting, then you would be able to take the opportunity to read it. And if you had any more questions off of that, then I could answer those questions.
Jamie Millward, Chairman, I'm wondering, Susmitha did forward that, and I'm wondering if everyone, maybe by show of hands, has everyone received what Jim had submitted to?
All right,
okay,
good.
We all have read and seen. So Susmitha, you're on mute, Susmitha.
Susmitha Atoda, Town Planner. Jim, just so this was going to be on public record, and because we cannot put it up online yet, because of the way the postings are being done right now remotely, I suggest you read out your email aloud so that it goes into the record, and then the committee can discuss on voting it.
Petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick, will do. Susmitha, good morning. My purpose for writing is to let you know that I have been unsuccessful in contacting my architect for the above-mentioned project. Being Monday, I doubt even if he was able to return my request for contact, he would be unable to comply with changes to meet the Wednesday meeting schedule. I therefore will adhere to the following based on the previous meeting comments from you and the other board members. There was concern expressed regarding the Boston gable as it seemed out of place, as did the small gable vent section located on the roof facing Hawley Lane. After giving more thought to this and the other building comments and concerns, I will eliminate both gables and replace with a straight through ridge line and add a 36-inch cupola incorporating a 30-inch clock in it facing Hawley Lane. Cupola is sized correctly for the 24-foot long ridge line. I will be choosing a building body color that I feel will fit in or complement the surrounding area. Choose a stone below the windows to complement the body color. Choose a trim accent color to contrast but blend in with the entire color scheme. I will choose the window and an exit entrance door frame color to be a third color to fit and nicely contrast with the body color and other contrasting colors. The awning will be used as another detail and color to accent which colors will be chosen as to also hide the exterior curved lighting fixtures that will provide light washing down the windows for nighttime accent appeal. The roof will be an architectural style shingle in a multicolor that will blend in with all of the three colors planned, chosen to complement the entire look of the structure. The entire roof will be a hip roof with an area sized in the rear to be constructed as flat in order to provide for the hidden HVAC, kitchen exhaust vent, and restroom venting. This area will not be seen from the street frontage or from either direction. It will be seen only from the back area of the parking lot and will not be offensive in viewing. As far as the utility meters are concerned, I will make every effort to put them in areas that are permissible for access as required by the utility companies and out of sight for an aesthetic point of view. The meters brought up for discussion were gas meter, water meter, and electric meter. Also brought up for discussion was the vent pipe for the pump chamber. I will be installing this pump if there is not available gravity flow for the soil line to the sanitary sewer main connection. There is an unknown depth of the 30-inch city water main in Hawley Lane. Unfortunately, we will not know the depth as to the potential conflict until we actually uncover the pipe to field check the elevation. Hoping we can go under the main and tie into the 8-inch sanitary sewer main would eliminate the need for the pump system. If it does conflict, we will install the pump chamber system and affix the vent pipe to the building in an area out of view. Landscaping. This was also a topic discussed. I will be looking at this with the town officials to determine what plantings can be substituted for better growth and color throughout the year. I will also be replacing those trees which would block the structure from street view with low growing shrubbery. This will be discussed with the town departments before planting is commenced. Lastly, the pylon sign was brought up for discussion. I will be adhering to the town zoning requirements for the size and as approved. I plan to construct it in such a way as to be appealing looking sign with integrity of strength for the long term. I apologize to you, Smitha, and all the board members for not being able to provide the information requested for this meeting. I will be happy to discuss this should a meeting still take place or in light of my not providing new drawings, the board decides to send comments on without a meeting. We are all experiencing difficult times as we cope through the day-to-day venture. Please advise accordingly. Sincerely, Jim. And that's the end of the letter.
Jamie Millward, Chairman. All right, so Jim and or Barry, are there further things that you will be presenting?
I have
I
Jim,
only have
petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick. I have nothing else.
Barry, non-lawyer for the petitioner. I just have a comment about the signage. I want to bring your attention to what the sign regulations say in a CF zone, and I'm making reference specifically to section 16.6.3.1 of the zoning regulation. That deals with wall signs and freestanding signs in a CF zone. This property is now zoned CF, which, as I explained to you at the last meeting, is a limited commercial zone. And the applicant is allowed 2/3 of a square foot of sign area for each lineal foot of building frontage. Now, we've got about 221 feet of building frontage, which means that we would be allowed approximately 140 square feet of signage on the front of the building, all right? And then on the side of the building, we would be entitled to half of that number. So 70 square feet on each side of the building, 140 square feet on the front of the building. That's what the wall sign regulation says in this zone. Now, we were talking last time about freestanding sign. And the freestanding sign is a function of the height of the sign. If the sign does not exceed 4 feet in height, then you can have a freestanding sign not exceeding 20 square feet. So we're not talking about big signs here. If you want to go 8 feet in height, over 4 feet, but less than 8 feet, then you're limited to 16 square feet. So we're talking about either a 20 square foot, 5 foot high sign, or a 16 square foot, 8 foot high sign on the front of the building, approximately 140 square feet, and a sign on each side of the building, approximately 70 square feet. When I read Jim's email and reviewed my notes from last week's meeting, it occurred to me that this is a much better looking plan than we had originally submitted. I think this is going to be a lot nicer, and I hate to criticize my client's initial efforts, but in my opinion, this is going to be a much nicer looking facility than what we had originally presented to you, and that result is a function of the comments that you folks made at the last meeting. So I thank you for that.
Okay, Jamie Millward, Chair. I think then the thing to do here is to kind of go around the room, and I'll just pick people as I see them on my screen and let them, have say their piece to begin with. So I'll start with you, Shannon Hovan. Comments, please.
Jamie, I do not have any additional comments from the last meeting. If I'm being honest, based on Jim's email. If anyone else has anything specific to add, welcome to jump in.
Fine. Jamie Millward, Chair. Tom Sarkowitz.
Tom Sharkwitz, member. I don't have any more comments. Just want to thank the petitioner for addressing the things that were important to me. Thank you.
Jamie Millward, Chair. John Sabell.
Yeah, I just had a quick comment, and again, I certainly appreciate Jim, you looking further into this and modifying it. I don't know necessarily that we were asking to get rid of the Boston gable completely. Again, I don't mind the new plan. The one question I had is I'm still, I guess, having some trouble visualizing now that you're going to go with a hip roof, kind of where that break in the hip roof is going to be to hide the mechanicals and everything else. I don't know if you have a plan in front of you that you could hold up. Again, with only one plan, and I think this just gets back to what we spoke about last time, only having one elevation view for the building, and again, understanding that it's the view that you're going to see quickly as you drive by the site, not from both sides. It's a little difficult to visualize, I guess.
Petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick, I understand. I really tried to get the views that you wanted. The only thing I could say to you is on the there'll be no break in the ridge line. The ridge line from the street and the sides will be the same. So you'll have the hip on the sides, you'll have the hip in the front, the hip in the back. We're just going to have a flat section coming in. It could be only 8 to 10 feet to 12 feet, maybe 16 feet into the building. And then there'll be a straight wall that's going to drop down. So you will have a ridge. That ridge line will not disappear at all. And that's where the cupola will be, right in the middle, centered on top of that ridge. And then the flat wall, vertical wall area will start behind the backside of the cupola. It's not going to be really, really big, this flat area. It's just going to be enough to accommodate the HVAC unit. It's only one unit up there, and the two fans for the restrooms, and also the kitchen vent system. That's not a big structure. So it could be 8 by 16 or 6 or 8 by 16 the other way. But I'm going to take a lot of care in making it look so you can't see it. And you'll see it from the back. There's no getting around it, but you see it in other buildings, and as you drive by. But you won't see this one. So you'll see a hip roof with a cupola and a clock, basically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, John, any other further comments from you? You're all set.
No, I'm all set. Thanks again to the petitioner and Barry for making time this evening to meet with us again.
Thank you
Okay,
as well.
Jamie Millward, Chair. Steve Law.
Yeah, Vice Chair Steve Law speaking. Jim, just to follow up a little bit on John's comment about understanding the hip. When you first talked about a hip, what I had in my mind was a pyramid. But you can't really get a pyramid in a flat section in the back. So I think we just need to be cognizant of the two adjacent roof pitches. We don't want it too steep, so we don't want it to look like a mansard. So that the east and west slopes should probably match the south slope so that they're the same pitch.
Can I jump in? Oh, okay.
Petitioner Fitzpatrick, I don't know if you can see this, but this is your hip. This is your side hip. This will be the two side hips. This will be your ridge line connecting the two side hips. That point is 24 feet. This is going to be a ridge coming down. I mean, a hip coming down straight on the frontage. The same will be in the back. However, there'll be that cutout. So it's still going to be a hip. It's going to be a hip on the side, both sides, a hip in the front, a hip in the back, but just with an alleyway cutout. That's all it's really going to be. It's not going to be offensive, believe me. It's just going to be. I wish I could have shown it. I wish I could have had it done for you. So it's take the guesswork out of it.
Vice Chair Steve Law. Jim, I get it. I want to the two adjacent hips, one facing the west and one facing the south, as it wraps around. Can we make those the same pitch?
Yeah, they are going to be the same pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, they're. I believe that I don't think there was a change in pitch, and I think it's either a 6 or an 8-inch pitch. I think it was more than a 6. I think it was an 8-inch pitch actually, but I can confirm that, and I can send an email on that if that's I don't want to keep continuing this meeting, but.
Vice Chair Steve, no, Jim, I got it. As long as we're cognizant about the adjacent roof slopes as it turns the corner and hips, I just think they should be the same pitch. One other comment. I know you said colors of the stone, colors of the shingle. I think we should just be cognizant that they're complementary colors. We don't want too many colors going on, right?
Commissioner Jim Fitzpatrick, yeah, so the greens and the oranges are out. No, I get it. No, they'll be complementary. They'll be within the, the same tones, but contrasting enough so you'll notice it. It'll look good. It'll look really good. I try to build nice things to be proud of, and I want to be proud of this one as well.
Vice Chairman Steve Law, no further comments.
Okay, Jamie Millward, Chairman. So a couple quick things, I guess. And I've listened to the whole discussion about the hip roofs, but I will say the building is almost square. So if all the pictures are the same, I'm not sure how you're getting a 24-foot long ridge line. I'm pretty sure you're not, unless the pitch of the coming to the road is different from the sides. Because otherwise you're not going to get a very long ridge. It's going to almost come up to a point when you have a 50 by 45-foot building. That being said, I'm not sure how you need to respond to that exactly, but I'm just, so I would say, Jim, we do appreciate you coming through with all this, the information. And I understand, the difficulty in trying to get somebody to turn around in these times, any new drawings, that being said, and I have no other specific comment on the building. I understand now that you're going to do the stone base and the color palette. Ideally we would like to actually see exactly what that is and be able to comment on that, but in this case we're not. So I don't have anything specific about this application. I kind of need and want to say for the record here that, I think, and I mentioned it last time, and I think, Jim, you've done a lot of work in and around town, and I'm not fearful of this project not coming out nicely. But I think that if the Architectural Review Board is ever going to be able to have some amount of say in we don't really have any power or an advisory board, but I think we all care about what this town looks like, and we'll have the backgrounds to be able to comment on projects that come before us. And I think, as you continue to do other development in town, I think completeness of the application in ways of drawings and selections of things is going to be critical. And we would like to be able to have, a full package in front of us so that we can, the whole idea of this board is, we're not adversarial. We want to make the projects better. We want to comment on projects and help you make them great projects. Because, if they're successful for you and they're successful aesthetically and they're successful for the businesses that occupy them, it's really a home run for everybody. So, you're a guy who's been in front of boards in this town for many, many years. And so, if you can just have that mindset, as you go forward, I think we'll all be the better for it. So short of that, I'm all set.
Petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick, I'd just like to answer that. You're correct, and I will going forward have this. Don't forget, we never had a board like this before in town, yep. So this is all new to every developer that's in town. So it'll become the norm, and that's what we'll end up doing. So going forward on the commercial structures, I will absolutely know that this is one important step, and I know it's not adversarial, and I appreciate all your comments and quite honestly, I think that the gable would have looked nice, but I'm not dissatisfied with the cupola. So I think that'll look really good, and so I'm excited to hopefully get going here pretty shortly. So I appreciate all your time, every one of you, your time and your comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think, and I may need a little assistance on Susmitha from rules of order here. So I'm reading through the things that you sent out earlier, and I'm thinking that I need to give the public, if there's someone from the public, the opportunity to speak. And so I'm going to do that. I'm not sure there's anyone on the line at all. I can't really tell, but at this time, we'd like any public commentary if there is any. Okay, so I'm guessing that there's not any members of the public who are watching this virtual meeting. So I'm going to assume there are no public comments. So is there any further discussion amongst the board members? And I would say,
Yeah, I just had a quick follow-up. So just to confirm again, Jim, I know the last drawing, you explained the hips, but whatever that structure was at the top last time, that's disappearing. Not the gable, but whatever that other protrusion from the top of the structure is. Again, I didn't understand that the last time, I don't now, but as long as that's gone.
Yeah, petitioner Jim Fitzpatrick, yes, that'll be gone. So to look at it, and I agree with Jamie, there probably will be two different roof pitches, one on the side and the front and the back to meet. But the idea is to end up with about a 24-foot long ridge line. So they're going to meet, they're going to come up, and the back's going to come up, the inside's going to be cut out. So that's going to be gone. That's just going to be a flat ridge line with a cupola.
any other further comment? Maybe we can just, by show of hands, raise your hand if you have no further comments. It'd be easiest to do. No further comments. Okay, so I think what we need to do now is we need to come up with what we're going to say going forward. I'm not sure how we should handle this exactly. Other than we can.
I can help.
Susmitha. Susmitha, go ahead. You're on mute though, Susmitha.
Yeah. Susmitha Atota, Town Planner. Chair, I suggest you make a recommendation conditional on the letter that you received as a board on Monday, stating that for the record, whatever decision you're making is based on the additional information provided to you this Monday regarding the project, and proceed to take a vote on that. And I will forward the letter of recommendation along with the letter that I received from Jim to the zoning commission.
Okay. So I guess I'm looking for someone to make a motion to that effect. Would someone like to make a motion? John Zabel.
John Zabel, board member. All things considered and everything we had seen from the applicant, both the original design plans, the information that was provided and read into the record by the applicant, I'd like to forward a favorable recommendation onto the Town of Stratford Zoning Commission with regards to this project, as both depicted on the design plans presented to us by the petitioner and the additional revisions to the roof line and explanations regarding structural materials, signage, and redesigned roof as discussed during this meeting tonight.
Jamie Millward, Chair. Is there a second to John's motion?
Tom Sharp, board member, I second that.
Okay, now, Jamie Millward, Chair, I'm going to go around and I'm going to call you by name rather than say all in favor. So we're just going to say, if I call your name, just unmute and say aye. John Zabel, all in favor. If you're in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Tom Sharkowitz.
Aye.
Aye. Shannon Hovan.
Aye.
Steve Law.
Aye.
Jamie Millward, also aye. That motion carries unanimously forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim and Barry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Very helpful. That was very helpful.
Okay. That being said, Jamie Miller, Chair. So is there any other business? I don't believe we have any other business. There's a special meeting. So John Zabel.
Just a point of order question. Susmitha, can I bring that up during the meeting?
You're on mute. You're on mute.
So sorry. Susmitha Atoda, Town Planner, we just made a motion to approve it, so that matter is closed.
Yeah, this is separate. This is just a
Okay.
point of order relative to our future business. Do I have the floor, Jamie? John Zabel, member.
John Zabel. Sorry, John Zabel. Go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, and again, I agree, Jamie, with what you had mentioned to Jim and Barry about future business that we'll conduct with this board. Is there a way we can possibly, again, I understand Robert's rules, but not so much how these meetings would work before the meeting. Is there any way that we can look at the materials that are provided and prior to bringing the applicant before us, say, look, this is insufficient. In the case of the application we just looked at, I'll use it as an example. There's only a west elevation. Can we ask just an east elevation? So then we get to the meeting and we're not having to have special meetings again. We're not inconveniencing the applicant by coming back, his counsel. So that was just something I thought of. So we don't, as we continue to move forward, hopefully a lot more applications after this pandemic passes, how we can make that work.
Yeah, Jamie Millward, Chair. I'd like to take this. I mean, I think really it is our right, and I guess Susmitha will be reviewing applications, is our right to reject applications that are not complete. I think, if we're going to play real hardball, we could say, no, you're not complete. We're not going to see you. I think at this point in our kind of young life as an architectural review board, I'm not sure that's the way we'd want to handle things, but I think just as Jim is recognizing that this is a new step for developers, and I think that's kind of why I made it a point. He knows other people develop in town. I'm sure he probably talks to them. I think, the word needs to be out there that, our expectations are high as to what we'd like to see. We all have our own talents and we have the ability to comment on these things. So I think that, that's the key, getting people to understand that we need information to be able to comment. Barry Knott.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this issue. The information that you received is exactly the same information that we are required to submit to the zoning commission in support of the special case application. Our application to the zoning commission was complete as far as the zoning commission is concerned. Now, it had shortcomings as far as you are concerned. However, I think what needs to be done, if you want additional exhibits to be submitted as part of the package that gets referred to you from the zoning commission, you got to talk to Jay and tell him what kind of documentation you want as part of the special case application, so that he can incorporate that information into his application process. And that way, when it gets referred from him to you, you will have what you want. Because as far as I'm concerned, and as far as everybody is concerned, this application that we submitted to the zoning commission, which ultimately got referred to you, was a complete application under the zoning commission regulations and under the zoning commission application form. So if you need additional information, you should talk to Jay, tell him what you want. He can then put it on the application process form. And as a result of that, we can prepare that documentation when we submit it, and you'll get what you need rather than get a complete application as far as the zoning commission, but which has shortcomings as far as you're concerned.
Susmitha Atoda.
Susmitha Atoda, Town Planner. Regarding the architectural review board application itself, we have a requirement in it asking the applicants to provide us renderings and design elevations of the project. And in all fairness to the applicant, yes, the application is complete, but the information in it, like, for example, last week, one of the committee members asked for a west elevation, and we didn't have a west elevation in it. I did request the applicant in the initial submission if I could get a colored rendering, and they said no. And you, as a committee, had this application with you since March. So from next time onwards, for streamlining the process, if you wanted more information, if you just emailed me and said, look, I reviewed the drawings, I'm still not clear how the west elevation would look like, or I'm still feeling like this is not a complete application without the color rendering, I can put the emphasis on providing that to the applicant. Because the ARB application clearly requires a complete set of elevations and renderings, whereas the zoning, like Attorney North said, does not require rendering. So again, if it's a complete package, but if there are shortcomings in the package, you get the materials in advance. So I welcome you to look at them and let me know what is it that you find as a missing information, not as a group. You can discuss as a group, but you can email me individually and I'll get it addressed.
John Zabel, do you have a comment here?
Yeah, John Zabel, board member. And Susmitha just ended up clarifying it there because I know the amount of business we can conduct outside of a meeting is extremely limited. And I wasn't even sure if we would be able to do that, say individually say that, okay, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to see that, or if they're using stone, they need to bring a copy. I know we had an application at the turn of the calendar last year where the applicant actually brought us a piece of the fake stone that they were intending to use. Again, I wasn't sure if we needed to wait for the meeting or if we can ask in advance. If we can ask in advance, that makes it all better.
Can I answer that question, Jamie? That's a very good issue. It's a very important issue that John just raised. The question of what you can, who you can talk to outside of these meetings and what you can say to who. And you can say whatever you want to your staff outside of the meeting. There's no prohibition against any communication that you have with staff, things that you need, things that you want, comments that you have, whatever is open season. What you shouldn't do is have have discussions with the applicant outside of the meeting. That's as simple as it is. You don't talk to the applicants outside the meeting, but you can have as many conversations as you want with your staff outside the meeting and ask for whatever you want outside the meeting.
Susmitha?
Susmitha, Town Planner. I agree with Mr. Knott. And again, it should not be a group email. It should be an individual email directly addressed to me from whoever has questions.
And the reason why she's saying it shouldn't be a group email, because if the group email consists of correspondence from a quorum of the committee, then that email should have been concocted at a meeting that was open to the public. So individual emails from you is not something that's subject to the Freedom of Information Act. But if you were to do an email from a majority of the members, then it would represent a meeting of the committee, which should have been recorded, et cetera, et cetera. That's why that rule is in place.
Okay, Jamie Millward, Chair. So I think, there's a two-pronged approach to this then. I think that certainly it is up to each of us as board members to individually review the documents that get sent to us and individually request information. But I also, ask Susmitha or her and her staff to kind of, and I totally get it because, we're new and we're trying to be helpful. But, obviously you have the ability to stop the application before it even gets sent out when it's incomplete. To say to their applicant, hey, guys, this is not what we asked for. We're going to need more. There's some judgment on your part. So I think between those two things and hopefully education of the developers who are going to be working in town, that it might take a year or two, whatever it takes to get to the point where we're getting full and complete application. Because I know in other towns, architecture review board applications are very complete, and there's a huge amount of information that gets reviewed and dissected. And you know, I'm not suggesting anything specific that we need or want, but that could be the goal. Susmitha.
Susmitha, to the town planner. I do agree with you, Jamie, but we have to be mindful of the type of application we are getting. Sometimes it could be just as small as a small scale retail. Because all commercial users are required to go through ARB, they might have to go through us, but they may not have the financial ability to get an architect to do 3D renderings for them and color schemes. And that's the reason why we did not mandate it as part of the zoning commission application. And even for ARB, we left it as optional. But definitely, having seen your concerns, I will make it a point to emphasize that for at least large scale commercial applications that come in before ARB.
Thank you, Jamie Miller, Chair. Thank you, Susmitha. I think that we all kind of good to have this kind of group discussion about this. So, is there any further discussion or commentary on this issue or any other? Okay, that being said, I guess we need a motion if we're ready to adjourn. Is there a motion?
Steve Law, Vice Chairman, I'll make a motion that
Steve Law, Jamie Millward, Steve Laws, I got cut out, but I'm assuming you said a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Tom Sharkwitz, member, second.
All right, all in favor indicate by raising your hand. All in favor, raise aye. This meeting is adjourned, 7:18. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
folks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe.
Do.